A very good morning and welcome back to Morning Live and welcome onto the ABSA Red Bus. ABSA, a member of Barclays. As we come to you live from Manchester, we are at the Lowry Art and Entertainment Complex, of which is made up of a number of commercial ventures as well as a magnificent bridge and the famous Lowry Theatre, which you can see on the right-hand side of your screen. Welcome aboard our ABSA Red Bus. Today we will get to see who Coach Hanneke Meyer announces as his brand new captain. Outgoing Springbok captain John de Villiers arrived back home in Cape Town yesterday and he is set to rejoin the Springbok squad after he undergoes surgery after suffering his second broken jaw in just 2 months. So once he's undergone surgery, he will undergo some rehabilitation and then he will rejoin the Springbok team here in England as they continue their Rugby World Cup campaign. We'll get you the latest with what's happening in the Springbok camp in just a short while with our TCC, Simon Burke. But first, let's start this Rugby World Cup update with some news. Australia have suffered a setback in their preparations for Saturday's Pool A match against England as forwards Will Skelton and Wycliffe Palu have been ruled out of the World Cup. Powerful lock Skelton sustained a pectoral injury during the Wallabies' 65-3 victory over Uruguay, while number 8 Palu injured his hamstring and will be replaced by hooker James Hansen. Lock Sam Carter will replace Skelton in the squad. Matthew Morgan will start at fullback in one of 3 enforced changes for Wales' World Cup game against Fiji. Wing Alex Cuthbert and centre Tyler Morgan also come into the side after Saturday's 28-25 win over England. Matthew Morgan replaces Liam Williams, who has a concussion. Scotland have called up loose forward Blair Cowan as an injury replacement after lock Grant Gilchrist's Rugby World Cup was ended due to injury. The 25-year-old was withdrawn during the first half of Scotland's 39-16 win over the USA on Sunday. And Uruguay, who are famous for its asados, which is their braais, have made sure that the national team and its entourage are not without their national dish during their stay in the UK for the Rugby World Cup. The Uruguay team are importing, listen to this, 30 kilograms of fresh beef per week to supply their braai nights, which are held a night before the players' weekly day off to ensure that the feast can be enjoyed wherever they happen to be staying. This is where we are coming to you live from this morning. Not only are we in the Lowry Arts and Entertainment Complex, but in the distance there you can actually see what they call here in Manchester Media City, and 2 major broadcasters, global broadcasters who have their headquarters here, ITV as well as the BBC. A couple of years ago the BBC moved their headquarters from outside of London into Manchester, and this is the kind of area that we're actually broadcasting from. And if you walk along the bridge, which we're going to be taking our cameras there in a little bit, you'll actually also be able to see the Theatre of Dreams, Old Trafford, Manchester United's home ground. All right, let's turn our focus back to the Rugby World Cup, and there was one Rugby World Cup match that happened yesterday. It was fellow African contenders Namibia up against Tonga. Tonga defeating the Namibians 35-21. It was a very brave performance, however, from Namibia. Their captain Jacques Burgers scoring a total of 2 tries after the break. However, that result for Tonga looking very, very good for them as they go to 2nd place in Pool C. So that's what happened yesterday. What is happening, however, in the Springbok camp? They've been shaken up, of course, with the departure of outgoing Springbok captain John de Villiers and then the arrival of Jan Serfontein. So our TCC Simon Burke brings us the latest.
Jan Serfontein has joined the Springbok camp and he actually passed Jean de Villiers in the corridors of the hotel. Jean was leaving, Jan was entering, and there was a quiet nod of heads. There's still a job to be done in Newcastle against Scotland on Saturday.
Yeah, because I was surprised to get the call. I was watching the Wales-England game, and then I got a call from Coach Hanneke saying that John's injured and that that he's considering to pick me, but they'll only confirm it on the Sunday. So yeah, I struggled to sleep on Saturday night, and then Sunday morning I got the news. So I was happy, but it's not ideal circumstances to come in with John being injured and so on. I'm happy to be here now, and I'm just going to do everything that I can to contribute to the team.
Scotland, they scored 4 tries in both of their games, so they've got a more attacking style. I would say they're going to play attacking game. So yeah, we'll just have to look at them and see what we're going to do against them. But I think we'll stuck to our same game plan, and yeah, just delivering on the day. So looking forward to it.
The South African team to face Scotland will be named later in the day. They're holding it until the last minute to make sure that all the players who have injury concerns are fit and ready. I'm Simon Burke, bringing you the latest from the Springbok camp.
And as our TCC has been up in Newcastle since Sunday, our Absa Red Bus is going to be making its way up there. But for this morning, we are broadcasting live from Manchester. We're in the borough of Trafford, and we, of course, as you walk along that bridge, that's the bridge that I was speaking about, as you walk along there, you can actually see Old Trafford in the background. It's a brilliant centre here and really an arts and cultural hub here in Manchester. I want to read you a couple of stats, okay? Up to date at the Rugby World Cup, there's been 118 tries scored so far. In total, 1,043 points. And nearly 1 million people have actually watched live Rugby World Cup matches at the different venues after just a week and a half. And that is said to be topped when the next Rugby World Cup matches get underway tomorrow. Today is a rest day, however. So let's take a look at the upcoming Rugby World Cup fixtures. So tomorrow it's going to be Wales up against Fiji in Cardiff. Then France take on Canada in Milton Keynes. France are second in Pool D, and it was a feisty Canadian team that we saw up against Italy. So it should make for a very interesting clash tomorrow. Friday, New Zealand, who top Pool C, go up against Georgia, who opened up their tournament with a surprise victory over Tonga. Saturday's action continues. Of course, the big one, South Africa up against Scotland, and the Springboks will be announcing their team to take on the Scottish later today. You're on the Absa Red Bus, and it really has caught everybody's attention. When we were in Birmingham at the fan zone, not only did we have a number of South Africans coming to take a look at the national flag and the Springbok flag, and you just get some inspiration before the game against Samoa at Villa Park, but we also had a very important and senior visitor from the local organising committee. That was the COO, Neil Snowball. We got an opportunity to find out a little bit more about the inner workings behind the Rugby World Cup 2015.
I think you've got some very, very good sports administrators in South Africa, so I would hesitate to offer them advice on how to run a world event. But what I would say is I think Japan will do a great job in 2019. I think it's a very bold and very positive move to go to Asia, and I think World Rugby will have a fantastic tournament in 2019. And then, as you say, South Africa are bidding for 2023, and I think first of all, it's about taking around the whole country, which I'm sure they will, to take it to a whole range of different venues around the country. I think it's about also absolutely making the rugby at the heart. And again, South Africa is a rugby-mad nation, and really looking after the teams. We've invested a lot of time getting to know the teams, getting to understand what their requirements are with their team bases, their hotels, and all of their requirements. We've spent years investing in that, and I think that's critical to get that right and get the teams on the right basis. And then I think it's like our volunteer program. We've got 6,000 members of the PAC, which is our volunteer group. Many of you've seen here in the bright uniforms. They've made a huge difference. So I think it's getting that right as well. But also understanding what's the purpose of the tournament. Obviously, it's great to have a 48-match tournament, but what do you want to do with it? You talk about, the consciences of the nation. We all remember what happened in 1995, and I'm sure in 2023, if successful, then again there will be a whole new legacy and a whole new chapter of rugby in South Africa.
Certainly a very interesting conversation, and we'll bring you other parts of that conversation right here on our Rugby World Cup update, which every single morning we're bringing to you live on Morning Live. I've made my way outside of our Absa Red Bus, Absa, a partner of Barclays, and I've made my way to in front of the Lowry Theatre. It's a famous theatre, and it's just part of the Lowry Arts and Entertainment Complex. And what you can see is that this complex is actually at the end of a pier. So if you have to look at the structure from the top, it actually is built in a triangle, completed in 2000 to the tune of £106 million. But it really invigorated this area and has made it a art and entertainment hub. And then just a couple of years ago, who moved over here? Well, none other than ITV and the BBC, and there you can see them. And this has really become Media City in the borough of Trafford in Manchester. And this is where we are bringing this broadcast to you live. All right. These are a number of new buildings, but there are a number of hugely significant historical buildings which you'll find in the city centre of Manchester. One of them is the Corn and Produce Exchange.
Well, there's been a corn exchange here on this site in Manchester since 1837. The building you see behind us, they started construction in 1897 of this building, and it was actually opened for the first time in 1903. So this is where the majority of corn produced in the area and produce was actually traded. The central atrium in the building, but the building is built on three sides, so it's a triangle. In the centre of the building there is a large glass atrium, a dome in the ceiling, which allows lots of natural light to get into the centre of the building onto the trading floor, and that's where the merchants would throw their corn up into the air, so you could see whether there were any impurities and how good the corn was, which would set the price, and the merchants would then would buy from there. Been able to create a fabulous atrium inside for internal seating as well as external seating around the building as well. So we'll have 17 restaurants in total when the building work's finished. It's what we call Grade 2 listed, so it has a heritage status as well. So there are heritage elements within the building, so there's two really beautifully ornate staircases inside the building, and there are a couple of areas of tile, preserved tile and stone floor as well that have had to be built round, and the developers in each of the restaurants have done a superb job in incorporating these features within their fit outs. They do look really, really good.
So certainly some very interesting buildings, and also to hear the stories behind each and every single one of the buildings. But what's brilliant to see here, not only in Manchester, but across England and in most of the cities and towns that we've been to, is the dearness and the way that the people that know the history of the buildings actually speak about them. You see that there's a huge appreciation for the history of it. So we've made our way outside of the Absa Red Bus, and we're now on this beautiful bridge. And I want to just point you in that direction, because over there, beyond the trees, is a theatre of dreams. Old Trafford, the home ground to Manchester United, 20 times English Premier League champions and a global football commodity. Myself and my colleague Mac Messina actually drove past the Theatre of Dreams along with our cameraman Francois on our way to another very interesting place and a tourist destination when you come to Manchester, and that is the Trafford Quays Leisure Village. It has some of the most amazing activities to do there. We just did two of them. Take a look at this fun.
I want more. I want more. I want more. Unbelievable. You know, the main factor that you're just taking off, you're going all the way up, then you come back again. I mean, this is the stuff that you see on TV. Gee, I want to go again.
Generally, a lot of people who play sports are even better at it as well, because they generally know about their limbs, they know about the movements, they know the body awareness, so therefore they can actually learn to fly pretty fast generally, especially people who do the sports than people who don't. To skydive itself, well, actually in the wind tunnel, we can generally get most people flying within about 30 seconds. When you actually get them into the tunnel, they need to kind of know what to expect, what sort of position they need to be in, because different positions is going to have different reactions against the wind, so therefore you need to be in the correct position to have a nice flying, body stable position. If you're in the wrong position, the wind's going to move you off in a different direction, so we kind of advise how your body reacts to the wind before we start to fly.
But I tell you what, it's just unbelievable. V, oh.
Wanted to make a snow angel. I wonder if you can do it here.
No, I doubt it. Oh, that.
We offer a wide range from climbing to fun activities like going down an ice slide. I don't know why I'm looking over there. So yeah, like an ice slide, rubber rings, sledging.
Who won? I did. You did. Well done, Tom. Well done. I am the loser. The loser is always the winner.
The loser is always the winner. It's just about taking part, isn't it? Do you boys play other sports? Rugby? Football?
Yeah, I play rugby and football.
Okay, who's going to win the Rugby World Cup? We've got Rugby World Cup on now. Okay, you're going to win the Rugby World Cup. What's your name?
Aaron.
Aaron, and your surname?
Comfort.
Okay, so if you guys had any doubts about who's going to win the Rugby World Cup, Aaron is going to win the Rugby World Cup.
Of course.
Yeah, boy. Okay, it's time to get warm, guys. You've got gloves. I am freezing. Enjoy the rest of the snow, okay? Thank you, guys. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye. Get warm. We made our way back outside of the ABSA Red Bus. ABSA, a partner, a member of Barclays Bank. We made our way here because it's time now to say goodbye to Manchester and for us to rack up a couple of more kilometres as we make our way up to Newcastle. Our next stop is Leeds, and that's where we'll bring you another live broadcast here on Morning Live. So next stop, Leeds, and then it's on to Newcastle for Saturday's match, which we cannot wait. The Springboks up against Scotland. We do look forward to the TNA business briefing. Very interesting discussion that they have this morning. So that is what's going to come your way after this. From us here, and the ABSA Red Bus. Goodbye.